All right, welcome to another episode of the Freezin for NFC North Podcast, episode 43. Epic Vikings come back to take the North. Lions and the Packers, I should say, are still alive for the playoffs. Obviously, my Bears are not. Plus, we're going to go ahead and do a Week 16 preview. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back, Ryan from Packernet. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. It's getting a little bit late, but I'll be all right. I'll manage. I got my coffee. We'll get through this.
Perfect. And also our other Packer guy, welcome JJ Leahy. Thanks for joining us for the first time. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Happy to be on here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, hold on that. You may not be excited once you hear what my guy Seventh Letter has to say. How are you doing?
I'm all right, my brother. How you guys doing tonight?
Fantastic. You always bring the excitement to it, and this should be a fun episode. Obviously, we've got our Vikings people coming on hopefully a little bit later. But we've got Packers and Lions here. I want to go ahead and start. And before we get into all the Viking stuff, when we look at these two teams, is this what we kind of thought at the beginning of the year? The Lions and the Vikings the Lions and the Packers would be, fighting for the last couple playoff spots?
No, I didn't feel that way. I thought, I don't know. I kind of thought we would win a few games. We lost a lot of the early ones, which kind of scared me a little bit. I've never in my lifetime, I guess since 1990, maybe 95 or 96, had like a winning streak like this. So it's I didn't expect this. I ain't gonna lie. And I'm a Lions fan, so every week is just a bunch of angst for me. The Jets game, I did feel like he was gonna pull something out the hat at the end, like because he's been trying to. It's finally working, and I kind of knew that he would pull something out the hat. Didn't think it would score, but I thought we would beat the Jets. I really did. We were kind of moving the ball on them, and we're moving the ball on everybody. The offensive line is finally getting a little healthy and playing together. So, yeah, I didn't think I thought the Packers. I knew the Packers was going to slide because Aaron Rodgers liked to throw to one guy. That's what he likes to do, and he didn't have nobody this year until he found Watson.
Well, I was waiting for that. I mean, you've been unusually subdued already tonight, and I was wondering when you're going to take the shot. And I'll let Ryan go ahead and answer that shot right away. So, what are your thoughts, Ryan, on what Seventh Letter had to say?
No, I think he's right, and I think I kind of underestimated that a little bit. The amount that Rodgers wants to lock into one guy, and he's been doing it this year too. He's trying to lock into people, and it's not working until Watson got going. And Watson's doing a lot of things. He's opening up the field with his speed. He's helping guys underneath, and so Rodgers is kind of able to lock in. It's still kind of a problem, he's locking into guys he shouldn't, but it's working a lot better. You can see it since Watson started getting reps around week 10, the Dallas game, week 10, I think it was. Packers are top 10 offense. They're not number one, but the wheels are moving. The run game's there. The offensive line is looking better. The passing game is looking better, and the defense is still a problem. But once Rodgers kind of had that ability to say before the snap, I'm going over there, and it actually works. Now that he can do that, it's kind of working again.
Now, JJ, are you buying into? Are you completely bought into that the Packers can win these final three games and make the playoffs, or are you ready to be hurt, or where are you at on that?
Hey, as a lifelong Packers fans, I am always ready to be hurt again. No question about it. I don't know, man. I mean, it's three good teams we got coming up. I put a poll on Twitter earlier today asking Packer fans which game they were the most nervous about, the one they had the least confidence that we could win, and I had no idea which option was going to win. Turns out people were the most nervous about the Dolphins game, but I think it could have gone any direction. The Lions have been playing really well. I think that if you're a Lions fan, you got a lot to be excited about these days, a lot that you can be excited about looking forward to the future. I mean, Detroit has had absolutely a very exciting season, a lot of growth from their young guys. It's really encouraging to see, no question about it. Trying to get through this gauntlet of three games here, it's going to be tough. I think the Packers have the talent to do it. But the problem that we've seen for them all year is them just not consistently putting up 4 quarters of play to the best of their ability. And so, I think that some of it comes down to, want to and motivation. And, can you sustain that for 4 quarters across 3 games? I don't know. I haven't seen enough from them this season to make me think that they can do that, but the talent is there. I think they can go toe to toe with anybody and beat them. But you got some discipline issues, you got some motivation issues that seem to keep cropping up and rearing their head, and so it definitely leaves me feeling shaky at best about their ability to run this gauntlet.
Well, speaking of run, Ryan, what kind of did you take out of that win against the Rams? Obviously, AJ Dillon had a good game. I mean, is that more about what the Packers did, or maybe just the Rams don't have the talent?
It's a little bit of both, but I think people are putting too much into the Rams are bad. I mean, they were 7-point favorites. They won by 12, so they exceeded expectations. It was one of the lowest point totals the Rams have had all year. It was the lowest amount of yards they've had all year. So, nobody wants to give them any credit, but I get that they're bad. But what is the expectation? And I think they exceeded the expectation. So, it wasn't anything super special, but like JJ said, we haven't really seen 4 quarters this out of the other. I think this was about the closest we've seen, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 games, of 4 quarters from offense, defense, and special teams. It wasn't super spectacular, but I don't think we want that at this point. Just show me that you can not collapse at some point in the game, and we'll be happy. And I don't think they did. I think all through the 4 quarters, with a couple little issues here and there, they just played well and just didn't fall apart at any point in the game.
And that's what you need, right? You need to start with 1 game at a time.
Right.
The Rams, I know that you guys expected Baker Mayfield to Baker Mayfield. You know what I'm saying? He's not good. I kind of figured you guys are it should have probably been more, because the Rams wasn't able to get any kind of momentum. Y'all kept getting the ball back. I expected it to be a little worse than that, to be honest. 24-12, it could have easily been 35, but the Rams don't have much. They don't, they just a bunch of regular guys with a bunch of stars, like with 4 stars or 5 stars. 3 of their stars are hurt. So they should have blown the Rams out. It shouldn't even been that close. Baker Mayfield sucks. I don't know why they keep on trying to make him Brett Favre for some reason.
To be fair, it was the biggest blowout of the week.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, you're right.
Well, obviously that's what they needed to do. They beat the Rams. A win is a win, and we'll go ahead. Obviously, a team that's kind of known that. Welcome Shelby in. A team that's known a win is a win. The Vikings, and we'll give you your.
Shannon Fletcher is such a hater. Y'all got your win. You should be happy.
Nah, man, it makes me sick.
He's been subdued tonight too, actually.
Yeah, because I know, because the Vikings, they got that off, and I know they think they're good, but
I am with you. I'm at work right now. I had to jump on. I literally told my manager, I need to jump on just because of this last win, just to talk about it. But yeah, my thing is, I honestly turned the game off, because I think it really was one of those things where the conversation all year has been frauds. After I was supposed to go to this game, and I went to the fucking Lions game instead. That makes me so mad. I'm salty as fuck. But yeah, I was after the Lions game and then watching the first half. I had tweeted, I was like, all Vikings fans have kind of been waiting for that shoe to drop, and we always do it in the most embarrassing way possible. And that's kind of what I thought. So I turned it off for the second quarter and a little bit of the third quarter. And then everyone on Twitter was like, Shelby, turn the game back on. Shelby, turn the game back on. And I think for me, it is one of those things where, do I think that we're 100% frauds? No. Do I think that we're going to win a Super Bowl? No. Anything is possible, obviously. But, it's so frustrating, because you guys know all year I've been talking about consistency. And the consistency is getting less and less, but then when we are on, we're so on that it's kind of freaky. Granted, the first half, a lot of their scores were off of turnovers and like crazy random plays, like blocked punt. How often does that happen? Like Rager fucked, and you guys know I've been a fan of Rager. I've been like, let's utilize Rager, and then this motherfucker, where was he? Yes, he's a bomb. Like, and that kind of, oh my gosh, I'm like, I fucking had your back. But when we get moving, there's no denying that we can do it. Our offense is not the issue. Our defense, it's like, as long as they can remember that they can make plays, they can make plays. I think that at the end of the day, no matter what, considering it is the greatest comeback in NFL history, you can't really say, no matter who it is, no matter who we were playing, that there isn't some sort of greatness to the team, because this has clearly never happened before. But yeah, it's definitely interesting but honestly, all the Vikings fans that I know, they're not all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, we're going to win a Super Bowl now. I think it's just been such a fun season as a Vikings fan. And I just feel very blessed to like be able to be in a place in my life that I've like gotten to go to so many games and like really experience the season and like be on this show and talk to you guys about it. So
tell you what, I mean, the NFC, it's wide open. I mean, with Jalen Hurts getting hurt, I don't know what the Eagles are going to be. See at full strength. If the Lions make the playoffs, I know the Packers aren't going to make the playoffs, right? But I mean, it's, San Francisco having the 49er or having Brock Purdy as the quarterback. Anything can happen. And any these type of wins, I feel like, can give a team that type of. I mean, just like the Lions, that you get that type of momentum, and you get, hey, we can overcome some of these things. I think that can be important for a team psyche as well.
Yeah, I think I've really noticed that this year is like anything can happen in the playoffs. We've seen it before. The Cowboys went 15-1 or some shit, and they ended up losing the first round of playoffs. The Vikings, 1998. They only lose one game. They lose in the playoffs. Anything is possible. Jalen Hurts, that's a huge dig. 49ers, Purdy came in, and he did amazing, but that could just be a fluke on a first game.
Yeah, they ain't
you
got
really just never know. And I think that the one thing in the playoffs that matters is being able to play, and in the sense of, because you go into the playoffs, you don't know what to expect. Everything is different. Everything is more high stakes. And having a team that we know can come back from crazy like deficits, because this isn't even the first time it's happened, right? Like this is a thing that clearly we're fighters in some sense. But obviously the Lions game, the Eagles game, the Cowboys game, those are situations where I'm like, okay, well, but where was that fight? Where
you got offenses that can do something. Matt Ryan ain't gonna do nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again,
Yep.
it's you can get into just so many shootouts.
Yep.
And after a while, when y'all get into the playoffs, because y'all can't stop nobody, it might be a fluke. But you're gonna beat whenever you go against teams who offenses can't move the ball, their defenses are gonna, because the Colts got a good defense.
Mm-hmm.
But they just was on the field all day because the Colts couldn't move the ball.
Yep.
And then you got all these offensive players. Like I said, you got the best wide receiver in the world. You got one of the top 5 running backs in the NFL. When you got people that are better than everybody else, and you leave them hanging around and they get hot and Big Mo come into the picture, momentum is everything in football.
Yep.
And once that happens, like, it's over. It's hard to beat. You're hard to beat. You can't.
Wait, speaking of Jefferson being the best wide receiver, we got a little heat coming in on that.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was so mad at us for that.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yes. He like that. He the man.
He is.
Yeah,
there's no denying it at this point, especially after that game. He makes the plays when he needs to make the plays, and that's all that matters.
Well, before you have to go, I'm not sure how much longer you have. What do you see? I mean, is this kind of a must win for the Vikings to kind of stay in that number 2 spot?
Of course it is. And my fear has always been that we have a really good game and the next game we always suck. The first game we beat the Packers. It was an amazing win. Everyone was hyped. Next game we shit our pants against the Eagles. We have that crazy win against the Bills. And then the next game was the Cowboys game. So that's kind of my fear more at this point. And less of like, I'm confident in our talent. I am. But
Okay.
yeah, confident in the offense. The defense, what's frustrating about it is like the plays that they do make are crazy. But on like a play-to-play basis, they're not cohesive. But then they have some of the players, like, was it last week that we talked about what's the difference between, is it a scheme issue or is it a player issue? And I think that's the thing where it's not, it's both. And sometimes they make these great plays and you're like, oh my gosh, like what a team. And then other times you're like, what the fuck are you doing? So I think at this point we're sitting pretty regardless, but I would like a number 2 spot because I'm also trying to go to the playoff game. So
you guys are 4-point favorites, which is the most you've been favored by since week 8 against the Cardinals. So that should be encouraging.
Wow. Well,
Wow. You know, it's not encouraging though. The way that Thibodeau, like I would be afraid of him. Like Cousins should be afraid of him. Like this week, like he just
played good last week. He did finally. He played good.
He played better than good.
Yeah,
like
he played good last week.
He was unstoppable.
He was unstoppable. He's one of those players. I mean,
yeah. Especially Kirk has the most hits in the league right now. So it's not really talked enough about how tough he is, but I feel like now it's the end of the season. He's been rocked all season. You know, we were lucky this last game because Cook was also playing really well. So it wasn't like all the pressure was on him. We just, honestly, everyone kind of showed out. But I do get worried about him getting, and then he gets stressed, and then
Ryan,
gets nervous.
Ryan, are you rooting for the Vikings this weekend to beat the Giants?
No, I'm not. It doesn't really matter. Nothing really changes all that much, but I'm enjoying calling the Vikings frauds, and as long as I continue to do that, I'm going to keep doing it because it just makes me feel good and it's funny, and they can't really refute it as much, so it just you put it out there and they kind of scowl at you and then they just kind of leave it alone and that's the end of it.
Yeah, I feel like the thing about the Vikings, like most of us are realistic. Like at the end of the day, what can we really say? Like the history is not there to back us up. So
that is the difference between Vikings and Bears fans, because I'll make fun of. That's why I don't do it. I make fun of Vikings fans, and they're just like, "Yeah, fair enough." And I'm like, "Well, that's no fun." I'll say the most obvious. I'll say the most obvious stuff about the Bears. I'll pick the worst player on the team, and be like, "He sucks." You don't know what you're talking about. He's a Hall of Famer. Like you guys are ridiculous.
Hey, that's not me. That's not
me.
So
then I keep Justin Fields. So then I keep poking the bear, and they just keep coming back at me.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I do need to hop off, but I am trying to overthrow Vikings Twitter. So tomorrow there's going to be a poll for the Queen of Vikings Twitter. I need everyone here to support your girl. Okay? People that are watching, you guys, because now it doesn't matter. It doesn't necessarily have to be Vikings fans. But come on.
I thought Kirk Cousins already held that crown.
Oh, that was a good one.
Ooh, good one.
Nice.
But yeah, I love you guys. I was so mad that they scheduled me. But
hey, we got you on, so I appreciate you coming on, Shelby.
I appreciate you guys. I will see you next week.
Next week.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Happy holidays, you too. Yeah.
You too.
Hope you guys have a good week.
All right, you too, Mama.
All right, bye.
Peace.
Well, JJ, you have a little bit of time here too, so let's go ahead and we'll kind of get into some Lion stuff as well. But what about the Packers game. I mean, we were looking at the Dolphins. Is this a winnable game? I mean, like honestly, I mean, with because the Dolphins are in a must-win spot as well. I mean, what are your thoughts on this game, JJ?
Yeah, I mean, no question, it's going to be a really tough one for a few different reasons. But the biggest thing that your mind immediately goes to is trying to cover those extremely talented, lightning fast receivers. Tyreek is just unstoppable. Jalen Waddle is a freak as well. And if there's one part of this Packers defense that I trust less than any other, it's their secondary right now. They have not played good for most of the year. Somehow they rank top 10 in coverage via PFF as a whole unit on the season. I don't know how.
Probably did that all come from the Bears game? Both Bears games.
Very fair. I think part of it has to do just with the fact that you can run on the Packers so easily that you don't need to throw very often. But I got some questions about Rasul Douglas right now, and our safeties are just not playing anywhere close to where they need to be. So I have some concerns for sure about trying to stop that passing attack. If you can do that, I think you got a shot. But you're trying to take away their greatest strength, and it's one of the greatest strengths that anybody has in the league right now. So the nice thing, if you look over the past couple of weeks, like Tua has not been playing very well. So you might be catching the Dolphins at a really good time. So that, there might be a little bit of luck on your side right there. Earlier in the season when he was hot, it just seemed like it was hopeless for any team trying to shut them down. But he's been struggling the last couple of weeks.
Well, Ryan, speaking of the offensive side, and before we started, I told you I have this quandary on my fantasy playoffs between Rodgers and Zach Wilson of all choices. It's just ridiculous. But when you look at they're in Miami, which is probably a good thing from what's actually happening here in the Midwest. Do you see, Aaron Rodgers, airing it out this week at all, or is that just not in kind of their game plan?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to say it's an easy matchup. I am a little surprised how many people are throwing in the towel against Miami, who has lost 3 in a row, saying we don't stand a chance. I think that's a little weird, but no, I mean, honestly, I've got the next 3 games pretty close to 50-50. I don't really know which way it goes. But as far as overall game plan, as far as I can tell, Miami's defense is pretty even as far as being mediocre against the run, mediocre against the pass. So generally the Packers, when they've been successful, they try to run the ball fairly well. They try to get that established. And once they do that, they can open up the pass. And I don't really see a reason why they can't do that. Like JJ said, though, if it does get into shootout territory, I'm a little worried because I don't think the consistency is there. But I think the offense will be able to move fairly well. But it's going to come down to the defense and their ability. I mean, if Miami gets up to 28, 30 some odd points, I'm not so sure that they can be consistent enough to keep up with that. But I'm not overly worried about any particular facet. The only concern is their offense going to kind of get away from us, and this is going to get embarrassing.
JJ, what about Romeo Doubs kind of coming back into the offense?
Ooh, I mean, yeah. Holy moly. He looked really good against the Rams. He was only out there for how many snaps? 9 snaps, 10 snaps, something like that. And man, talk about maximizing your opportunities. 5 targets, 5 receptions on 10 snaps. You just don't see that. And I think that, something we've been talking about all week is just how having Christian and Romeo out there at the same time really opens up how much you can do with the offense, because now you got 3 different ways you can attack. You got your run game, you got your deep threat, and then you got Romeo carving things up underneath. You know what? As he works back more and more from the injury, gets a little bit healthier, and can sustain a larger number of snaps throughout the game, I just think that he complements what we have in Christian so well, and together, they're the complete package. If we had a tight end who could catch, we would be absolutely just making money hand over fist.
Telling you.
I was just going to say that. Like, I went to the Bears-Dolphins game, and Cole Kmet had a fantastic game. Of course, they were doing some different things with him. They were running with him, but he had a fantastic game against the Dolphins. And the Bears did lose a shootout, which that was the first game, of the Chase Claypool era in Chicago, and there was some excitement. And so you can definitely move the ball on the Dolphins. So
yeah.
Were you saying 7-letter?
No, we scored on them a lot too. We lost by 3. It was like 35, 38 or something like that. Like we lost by 3 to them.
The Dolphins coverage is not good.
Yeah. You can score on them.
So yeah, I mean, if they win this game, I mean, then are you guys kind of both kind of ready to buy into the last couple of games, the last push, and then say the Packers get in the playoffs and face the Vikings? Are you ready to just kind of be all in and ready to be hurt with that?
Well, the nice thing is that if the Packers make it into the playoffs, that means that they beat the Vikings to get there. So getting rematched against them in the playoffs, not the worst thing in the world at that point, because you just played them. It's kind of weird how wide open the entire NFL is right now, but particularly the NFC. There's just nobody that you look at, from like a really outsider standpoint and really feel any kind of fear about. I think the one thing for me is like, if the Packers happen to, make their way through their landmine, I don't think it really, or their minefield, I don't think it really matters who's under center for the 49ers. That jinx is going to come in, and that matchup, would just be a buzzsaw. So the fact that they clinched the division, it just makes me sad.
Ryan, one last question on this game then here. Say the Packers lose to the Dolphins. Where do you stand on Rodgers the final 2 games starting?
Well, I mean, I've been semi-pushing for Love for a while. I mean, I guess I get it. If you got a chance, you got to let your guy play. I think my biggest concern is things fall a certain way, so we have like a 0.5% chance, and the Packers look at it and say we still have a chance, so Rodgers needs to play. That's really going to tick me off, and I think 90% of the fans. But no, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, we have to know what we have in Jordan Love. And a lot of people say, well, maybe the team already does. I don't think so. And they've even said we have to see him in live games. It's one thing to do something in practice. You got to do it in games. So I don't think they know what they have. So we have to know what the guy can do. I don't even know if you can see that in 2 games, but there's no reason to play Rodgers. There's zero benefit to it.
Are you on that same wavelength, JJ?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I think that just with the way things have been going, you're probably not eliminated before week 18. Just the way nobody around the NFC is willing to win the games they need to win in order to get in. I mean, I think you really are looking at, week 18 would be the earliest that Love could start. And I was really, all in on, like, I wanted, especially after that Eagles game where he came in for 9 snaps and you got to see what he looked like, and it was really exciting. I wanted to see more. I really wanted to give him like a good 4 games or so to start and show us what he can do. And I really wish that earlier in the year when Aaron was so banged up and he had the broken finger and he had the busted ribs and everything else he had going on, and he's not playing like himself at all. I wish we had put Aaron on IR for a brief stint there and let Jordan play. Obviously hindsight's 2020. We didn't know back then that we were going to lose those games anyways, but looking back, it's like, sure would have been nice to get him some playing time and let Aaron rest up so he can get all the way back to where he needs to be right now. It feels like a lost opportunity to me.
In Ryan, then does it matter? Like, so if there's 2 games, if these 2 games don't even matter to get in the playoffs, if they're out of playoff contention, I mean, does it matter the games that Jordan Love's in? Like, if it's not a high pressure, I mean, I guess it's an NFL game, right? I mean, that makes a difference. And but if it doesn't matter for them to get to the playoffs, I mean, is that different, or is it just kind of you want to see him game action?
Well, that'll be the narrative one way or another. But
yeah.
I mean, if he's a bad quarterback, you're going to see it, and if he's a good quarterback, you're going to see it. I mean, we saw him play as a terrible quarterback, and it was really ugly. And we saw him this last time he was out, and that was a good-looking quarterback. But again, everybody has their mind made up on Jordan Love. Either he's trash or he's going to be a superstar, and they're going to use that to their advantage one way or another. If he looks bad, they're going to say, well, it doesn't count because of this, that, or the other. If he looks good, well, it doesn't count. There's no pressure. No, you know what a good quarterback looks like. You know what a bad quarterback looks like.
Is there a good quarterback in Chicago?
Maybe. I haven't seen him yet, though.
Hey, I'll take maybe. That's a change. I appreciate that.
Once he learned how to throw.
Exactly.
He was dang good in college.
They've got 3 really good running backs, though. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Hey, I knew you were going to 119.5 passer efficiency rating this week. So there you go. As someone who can't pass or throw, I'll take that over Jordan Love. So absolutely.
Oh, Jordan, I can't wait the Jordan Love season, boy. I can't wait. Get Rodgers out of here, please. 2 quarterbacks in a row, Favre and then him. Thank God it's about to come to an end.
I don't know. I mean, you think of like Rodgers for like this could be an interesting situation going into next year. I mean, JJ, do you want him back?
I mean, it's tough because I think the Packers' answer very clearly would be we do want him back if he wants to be back, and I think when you hear
a non-answer, I feel like, right?
I mean, when you hear Aaron talking, it's very clear that retirement is on his mind, and is he willing to walk away from all this money and the love of the game just yet? Or is he thinking like, yeah, I can squeak one or two more years out here? I don't know. I'll say as long as he's under center, I'm going to not take it for granted and keep enjoying it while it lasts. But there are certainly a lot of positives that come with moving on from him. So like either way we go, I will be able to find the positive in it and enjoy it for what it is. If it were up to me, I think I would be giving Jordan every opportunity that you can to find out what you have in him, because I would be probably strongly considering trying to talk him into, hanging up the cleats at this point. But I mean, the other thing is we don't know how much of what's been going on this year is just is related to decline on his part or is related to other factors. The team likes to bring up his injury. Of course, everybody can look and see the guys that he's playing with are certainly not of the same caliber that he necessarily has had for a bunch of other seasons. So, it's totally possible. I mean, we were looking at him in 2018, 2019, and a lot of folks were ready to move on from him at that point because the, quality of play had really declined. And, then you got the 2020 season out of him, and it blew everybody away. And even the 2021 season was pretty good. So, I think that anytime you bet against Aaron Rodgers, it's going to come back to bite you.
I agree.
So I'm not ready to do that just yet.
I agree.
So
I think he got a lot left. I don't know about a lot, but I do think he still has something left in the tank. I can still see the whip on the ball. Like I don't know what you guys see. I don't see it in Jordan Love. Even when he got in the game against the Eagles, I'm like, all right, it was over. So I don't understand. I won't take Aaron Rodgers because I hate him. But he still was the best quarterback on the field the other day on Monday. Like, so,
that's Baker Mayfield though, right?
Aaron
true,
in that Dallas game. I mean, he turned it back on again.
Exactly. He still has it. I think it's just the young receivers. He hasn't yet. I think he needs to spend a little bit more time with him. He got to stop being such a narcissist or whatever he is, where he don't sit next to the wide receivers or nothing. He just kind of sits by himself and all that goofy shit he do. Like that personality stuff, he kind of got to change. He got a whole team full of rookies that's probably terrified of him. You know what I mean? He has to, I don't know, gain some type of cohesion with him, but he still got something left in the tank. I hope y'all trade him or something. That'd be beautiful.
I do think that he could be around a little bit more in the off season and preseason and be a little bit more involved. And I think that could help a lot. It would have been nice this past year.
JJ, nice. Before you have to go, where can everyone find you?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me on here. This was absolutely a blast. You guys can follow me on Twitter at JJ Lahey, Lahey, and check out the Packernet Podcast Network. I host a show on there, Cheese and Packers, every Monday. And then I have a second podcast over on the Packers Talk Network called No Huddle Radio. So check that out too. That comes out on Fridays.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on and talking Packers. It's interesting kind of to get, different perspectives on, Rodgers, on Love. But really what matters is what we see on the field. And obviously, kind of shifting focus then for what we've seen on the field, a team that's really kind of turned things around. Seventh letter, when you look at the Lions, obviously they stunned the Jets. I mean, what were your thoughts on that game? I know you talked a little bit about that. I mean, do you think this team has enough to really make that push to the playoffs?
I think that we super dangerous if we get into the playoffs. I think we can be the schedule is pretty favorable toward the end of the season. Panthers, Bears, and then the Packers. I can't wait to that game in Lambeau. I would love to beat Aaron Rodgers in his last game, according to the Packers fans at the end. But when we get into the playoffs, if we do, I think we'll do okay. I think we'll win in the wild card because we can run the ball, we can pass the ball, we can stop the run. We can't stop the pass, but we can stop the run. I think we kind of playoff built, to be honest. Like, I think we're dangerous, more dangerous than I even believe at the moment. But they believe, like, just the way they won the other day, how cool they looked in that situation with that tough-ass Jets defense. That's a tough defense over there. They was without their best man, and they were flying around, hitting, they played great pass defense, everything. They played good against the run, even though DeAndre Swift, I think they should have left him in the game a little more because he was getting busy on them in the run game. But I just think we got all like the right pieces where we can kind of beat anybody right now. Everybody's healthy for the first time this season. Everyone is healthy. I think we're a little bit more dangerous. So I'm not shocked.
I'm starting to be a believer. Like when you talk about this defense, Ryan, if it would come down to the, Lions facing Lions, I mean, are you worried about that game at all?
I would say, JJ mentioned which of the three teams is the most scary. I would say it's the Lions, to be honest. I think it's not even close that they're the best team in the NFC North. I think they're significantly better than the Vikings. It's just a question of whether the Packers are better than the Vikings. We'll find out soon enough. But, I mean, I don't know how you can look at a team that won 6 out of their last 7 and their only loss was the Bills by 3 and not say that that's legitimate. You know what I mean? That's, consistency. The defense is getting better. I don't understand it. The only thing I can think is the Lions are like the anti-Packers. The Packers have talent and they can't do anything with it. The Lions don't have talent. The Lions don't have enough. I mean, and that's what's scary about the Lions. What happens when they start adding talent to this?
Right.
What do you do then? What happens when they get a quarterback and they start getting, they just got a wide receiver that's just getting his legs underneath them and they start adding pieces on defense. I don't know what you do about that, but the only thing I can think is at some point the issues with the holes in the roster are going to come back to bite them. I know that they're all there. I mean, this team is playing at 150%. They're all hyped up. I can't imagine that lasts forever. So I don't know. I keep waiting for the shoe to drop. I keep waiting for them to just crash and burn, and it just doesn't happen. So like you said, I can't help but assume until it happens that they're just going to keep on this roll. But yeah, I mean, it's everybody talks about the 49ers and all these teams that are turning it around, and I don't think the Lions get enough credit for what they're doing. I don't think there's a hotter team right now than the Lions.
That O-line, man. I was just saying to my brother today, I said, we don't have a lot of talent, but he puts the way that the coaching staff uses people at their strengths.
Yeah.
It's excellent. And it's kind of like the way Belichick uses people. Like they put James Houston in when it's time to pass rush. They take him out. They don't do nothing else with him but that. Mm-hmm. Nothing else. You know what I'm saying? They let Jeff Okudah go out there and play his game. They let Jerry Jacobs, undrafted, go out there and play his game. Do a lot of holding. That's going to come back to bite us. I can see it happening like in a playoff game. You know what I'm saying? We got Kirby Joseph, who's a ball hawk, so they don't let him do anything else Anything else, play center field. That's all you do. That's it. And maybe go get some tackles, go force a fumble, go get the ball up. That's what you do. You know what I'm saying? Elliott, go down, play the run. That's it. That's all you do. And I think like I don't know. We built for if we get in a tournament, it's not going to be the same. It's not. I truly believe that. I think,
like I said, that is the anti-Packers, man. It's the exact opposite. We got a bunch of press man quarters playing soft zone. I mean, it's just
that's crazy.
nothing makes any sense with what we're doing right now. There's just talent just being wasted everywhere. But it is what it is. Maybe next year we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, obviously it's the draft will come up, and it's important to get that lineman in the draft, or that to really solidify the offensive lineman, because it's so important. I mean, you look at the Packers, I mean, that might be something that's affected them as well. I mean, their line issues, obviously it's been the defense as well for the Packers, but for the Bears, it's been the line in a negative way. I know I wanted to touch on this game versus the Bears. It's funny because there are a lot of people that were kind of angry, that the Bears, lost, and I'm like, the game went exactly how I wanted to go. I saw a lot of great things from Justin Fields, and Darius Slay, talking about how good he is. These players that face him, and there was a play, the running play that almost was a touchdown when he stepped out of bounds. I was like, yeah, I basically fell like that. Exactly. I was swearing to myself. I was like, holy, I was just like, I just kept saying that over and over again. Like, is this happening? And like, I know the narrative is that he can't pass, but 119, 0.5 his passer efficiency rating. And this is with a leaky offensive line. They're down to their eighth wide receiver. All these wide receivers are out, and he's been able to do that. And but what it takes, I think, for some people to prove, is just the wins and losses. And to me, that'll come next year. And I want to see them. I do to continue to do well, but I do want to see them lose so they can continue to solidify to have a top pick or trade down to get more picks. So, so you're not quite yet a believer then in him yet, Ryan?
No, I'm not. I mean, look, it's like I've said, every quarterback, pick the worst quarterback in the NFL. They have highlights. They got great throws. They got great plays. They got, that one game with the game against the Packers was great. Cool. What about the rest of the year? I mean, that's the difference. Even Aaron Rodgers, he's not playing bad. He's just inconsistent. And that's unlike Aaron Rodgers. And that's why Aaron Rodgers isn't Aaron Rodgers right now. It's not that he doesn't have some good throws. It's not that Zach Wilson doesn't have good throws. It's not that Trubisky had some great down the field throws. He sucked as a quarterback. So if you want to be a good quarterback, you got to be 4 quarters for 17 weeks, or at least most of those weeks. If you want to do that, and if you want to lead them through the playoffs, but you can't give me one game and say, hey, that's how you know. No, it's not. Everybody does that. Brock Purdy's doing that. And people are hyping him up. He's going to fall off in 2 weeks. He's going to be nobody's going to care about that guy. But he came in for and that's what all these guys come in for a week. Who's I don't know. Every time there's a backup, he comes in, he tears it up. He's the next big thing. And 2 weeks later, he's a bum, he's a scrub, and he's out of there.
All right, it's my goal, Ryan. It's my goal to make you a believer. We'll get there.
You got a couple weeks left. If he can keep it up, then maybe I'll turn it around.
I'm not even
think with Justin Fields. My thing with him is that when you look at those super mobile, those run first quarterbacks, they just don't last long.
Right.
And
yeah, absolutely.
Size. That's what I'm worried about. Like, I'm not gonna have to worry about it. He's gonna RG3 himself. Watch.
Well, and I think it's just too hard. You're trying to do 2 jobs at once. It's the hardest thing in football to be a quarterback, to stand in the pocket and do the right things. But if you got to segment half of your brain to running the ball and when do I go, when do I say, that's too much, man. Nobody can handle that. Nobody can do that. So then you add in the injuries and everything else. I just don't know that there's anybody that's going to be able to do that at a super high level. It's too hard.
That's going to be the biggest thing. And in the offseason, and they may, go defensive player in the top of the draft, or, but I really think they're going to target offensive linemen. I think that's going to be important because they really need to remake this offensive line and really give him that time and where he doesn't have to run for his life. He really didn't run this much in college, but he even admitted it's kind of been out of necessity. And you see linemen running straight up the middle to get him. He has to run, and then he's able to make those plays. And he hasn't done it just in one game; he's done it all season. He is almost to the record of having the most rushing yards as a quarterback, right, in a season. So like,
I don't doubt that.
So he's almost there, and obviously that's it's hard to sustain that, and I think he will. Obviously, I want to believe that, but he's got that talent. You listen to some of these NFL players that say he will, how good he is. I'm kind of trusting that. Obviously, when they start to put talent around him, because that's important. So it's interesting. We talk about having talent around you, right? And you get quarterbacks that are like Jared Goff, right? Maybe he is the quarterback for the Lions. Going in the next couple of years, right? Maybe they want him because they've got the talent, and maybe he is more of a Jimmy G. And so some teams are built like that, where they've got the talent around him. Right now, the Bears are not built with that talent. They've got Justin Fields. They found out the Bears like him. Most Bears fans are all in on him, right? Obviously, I get it. Packer, Lions fans, maybe not all in on him. We're all in on him. Now it's just surrounding him with the talent.
Yeah, he probably needs a receiver. You see what homeboy from the Titans is doing for the Philadelphia.
Absolutely.
And you see what Diggs did for Allen. You know what I'm saying? It's you're probably right. But I just know, like, when I need to see more pocket presence, maybe with the offensive line.
Yep.
And it's also hard to get offensive linemen for quarterbacks like that too.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, even I don't know if you've ever seen an offensive lineman from the Packers go to another team. They suck when they leave.
He has in first person this year, Lucas Patrick, and he was terrible.
Yo, we had TJ Lang.
Yeah, Lang.
He was crazy for y'all. He was suck for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, name recognition got him to the Pro Bowl, but he sucked for us. He was used to blocking for Aaron Rodgers because of the way that quarterback moved in the pocket and everything. So you also got to get the right kind of offensive line for that kind of player. You know what I'm saying? Because he moves a lot, and that's what he's successful at. It's going to start getting a little playground like with a quarterback like that too. And I'm not sure how much, it's a lot of risk in that. It's a lot of risk. He already throws a lot of interceptions. He has a lot of turnovers already. So get ready for that.
I tell you what, I was kind of looking, and it's great that you brought that up, Seventh Letter. I had a chance to interview former Iowa and NFL offensive lineman Julian Vandervelde. He played with Michael Vick and with the Eagles, and he talked about that, how much different it is to block for a mobile quarterback as opposed to one who is in a pocket, and just how I want to go ahead and probably tweet that out again this week, but just a lot of great stuff on that. But yeah, that is a great point. Tengang had a question for you here, Ryan. Do you guys think the Packers are making a mistake to make a run for the playoffs when they should see what they have in Love?
I think it's going to end up that way. I've been saying for several weeks now, I think what's going to happen is we ruined our chance at a good pick. We ruined our chance for the playoffs. We're going to end up missing the playoffs and getting like pick 17. And we're not going to see Jordan Love. It's going to be the worst of all worlds. And most people are going to say, oh, well, when you got a chance, you go for it. Fair enough. I get that. But in 2023, what good did we get out of this season? Zero things, I think, is going to be the answer to that question. So, I mean, I get it. You can't give up. You can't send that message to the locker room. But it would have been nice to pick a lane. If you want to win, fine. Why don't you start in week 5 instead of week 10? If you're not going to do that, then I don't want to hear any crying about giving up on the season. You had your opportunity to be good at football, and you waited too long. But it is what it is.
It almost seems like passive aggressive, like how much money they threw at Aaron Rodgers, like that meme where that little girl's throwing money out the window, right? and it's just like, all right, here's your money. Go ahead and prove it, and then like it's on the other side now. He doesn't have a good season now. What's that? Well, yeah, the sentiment is more, toward the Packers organization moving on, as opposed to if they would have tried to move on before the offseason, they would have been like, well, why are you getting rid of this Hall of Famer? And now they've seen maybe what seems like a little bit of a decline. It's almost like, okay, this might be the Packers' opportunity to move on.
Yeah, they don't really have much of an opportunity. I mean, it's kind of up to Aaron Rodgers what he wants to do. They can't cut him because of the cap. They can trade him, but all Rodgers has to say is, no, I'm not playing there, and the deal is torpedoed. So I think the only real recourse if they want Rodgers out is, and this is what I've been saying, you talk to them, you say, listen, it's up to you what you want to do, but I'm just letting you know we're starting to rebuild, which means your buddy Bakhtiari, he's gone. Randall Cobb is gone. Not passive aggressive. It's just, we can't have these old guys with big contracts anymore. We got to start building for the future. And Rodgers isn't going to stick around for a rebuild. He wants all in. I want you guys to go all in. I want you to spend all the money. I want you to bring everybody back. And if the Packers aren't going to do that, he'll make the decision himself to retire.
That's probably a smart thing. And obviously the Colts that'd be interesting for him to play inside on turf with them. If I don't know.
The Colts will want to. They love getting old quarterbacks. I don't think Rodgers is going to want to, though.
No, they don't got enough. A lot of people, I don't think that he like those receivers. They not.
No, he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
No.
The only team I can think that maybe he'd do is the 49ers. He grew up a big 49ers fan. He wanted to get drafted by the 49ers. They got the defense there. They got Shanahan. They got everything he could possibly want. I think he's always said he wants to retire a Packer. I think he's going to go out on his own terms. But if there was any team he would consider, I think it would be the 49ers. And I don't think there's any other team he'd do it for.
He'd probably go crazy on them Jets.
Yeah.
Oh,
they do have a similar situation over there.
Tell you, I mean, I don't know if he wants to be exactly like Favre, though, does he?
That's what I'm saying. Like he might
1 year with the Jets, and he's going to be a Viking or what?
That's possible.
I looked at those receivers last week. I'm like, that's like Packer receivers. Like
I think they got everything but a quarterback over there.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Brees come back next year. Shit.
Yeah. Here's another interesting about receivers and talk about the Bears and Michael Thomas. If the Bears would trade for him, I just don't know. How healthy he is, and that's the last thing I want. Yeah, and that's the last thing I want. Yeah. There is some talk that the Bears could trade for, a wide receiver or something. But again, they did that with Chase Claypool. They have to see what they have with him. I think they need to draft someone. But Michael Thomas, I don't see it on the Bears. I mean, he's talented, but he's, I think he's, past his prime.
Yeah, he's slow. No, you don't need that.
Right.
You don't need that. No, not a good idea. No.
Well, are we thinking that the Lions are going to win this week then?
Am I thinking that?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to learn how to be a fan. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to stop having so much. I'm used to you losing. So this stuff is all new to me. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a new girlfriend. Like, she's exciting. You know what I'm saying? You don't trust her yet. You know what I'm saying? I don't trust them yet, but every week, like, if we keep protecting Jared Goff, we'll be okay. Like I say it every week, you got to rub his shoulder. But when you rub his shoulder and he gets confident, and what I like about Jared Goff is that he's even. So he doesn't get too high, he doesn't get too low. I think when he was bugging out in the middle of the season, all our receivers were hurt. If Amon-Ra St. Brown is there, he's much more of an efficient quarterback. And then he doesn't have to force things and throw interceptions and do that stupid ass spin move where he always fumbles. You know what I'm saying? So now he's looking comfortable. It was a couple of times he just was standing there, just picking the Jets apart. Especially those first two drives. We didn't score any touchdowns, but it was like first one, we didn't get it at the one. We ran the ball 4 times against that stingy defense. And then penalties the second drive. That's a different game. That's 14-0 from the start. You know what I'm saying? So thank God for the kick return. But even that win, we went off special teams and defense and you know what I'm saying? Like I'm liking this team, man. I'm excited, man. I'm really excited. Nothing will make my life more complete than going into Green Bay, week 18, getting Aaron Rodgers out of here one last time before the Packers fans kick him out of Green Bay, out of Wisconsin, and then Jordan Love season starts, and then the Packers got to rebuild. It's beautiful.
That's if Rodgers even plays in that game, though.
I know.
Right.
I know. Hopefully we clinch week 17 and we put in fucking Sudfeld.
What I was just kind of like thinking ahead, right? And I remember when the Rams made the Super Bowl versus the Titans. I mean, it was such a weird at that time. I'm old enough to remember, like, okay, you know, the Rams stunk, you know, at that point, right? They made the Super Bowl and then they won. I'm like, wow. So when I think of, you know, maybe the most improbable Super Bowl matchup, you know, if the Lions were to make the playoffs, or even the Vikings to make a deep run. If it was, say, if it was a Lions Bengals Super Bowl, I mean, I mean, those type of things. I mean, I don't know if they happen in the NFL. I mean, are you ready for that 7th letter if the Lions make the Super Bowl?
Yo, man, I was just telling my wife, I think last Sunday when we beat the Jets, I said, yo, if we make the Super Bowl, yo, I'll probably cry. Like, I'd cry. I would probably, other than the birth of my children, I probably would never been so happy in my life. Like, I can't even imagine that feeling. I wonder what I was happy for Matt. Like, I felt like that's half our Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? When Matt won last year. Matthew, my bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like that was mine. I was screaming like he was on the Lions because they always told me he sucked. And I told y'all, like, no, we ain't got no receivers. And he finally got all these weapons. And he looks like the greatest thing since sliced bread. But I knew he was always that. I know I'm bad. I knew I was bad all those years. And I knew I wasn't. And this year I feel different. And if I make it to the Super Bowl, oh, my God. I can't even think about it. I don't think we're ready for the Super Bowl yet, but that was a pretty that feeling just got me hard a little bit. Thanks for that. I'm gonna rub one out.
Ryan, I know you hate the Bears, but when you talk of two potential teams filling their trophy case before, would it be worse if the Vikings filled their trophy case or the Lions?
It's not even close. I would be disgusted if the Vikings win a single game. Even as he was talking about it, I'm telling you, there's a tiny part of me that would be happy for and rooting for the Lions a little bit, just because they've been so bad for so long. It's really similar to the Bengals last year. I wanted the Bengals to do so good just because they've never done it. I was just happy for them. You're rooting for them. You're so sick of the Chiefs and the same old teams every single year. Tom freaking Brady every year. So to see, you know, I mean, again, Matt Stafford against that was the best Super Bowl that could have happened because I didn't hate either of those teams. Yeah. So I really think whether or not Packer fans will admit it, there's going to be a little piece that's going to be a little bit at least happy for them. Maybe get in and lose. I don't know. But, you know, I can't stomach it for the Vikings. I'll give the Lions 1 year. After you win it, now you're in the same tier as the Vikings and Lions. Now you're actual competition. Now I hate you with everything in me. But right now it's like I don't even dislike the Lions. It doesn't even bother me. So I'll be happy for them. Right. I'll be happy for them for 1 year. And then once they're good, I'm done. Then
I hate the Packers.
Oh, I know. That's I get it. You're supposed to. You hate us for the same reason that we don't hate you.
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is, I lived in Minnesota for 10 years and I just, I went to Brett Favre's last game, you know, where in the snow and where he was, you know, got pummeled by the Bears, and it was amazing. Devin Hester game, right? And I just could not stand the Vikings because I was living and I hear that horn, right? And they hadn't won anything. And now, last 8-9 years, I've been living in Wisconsin and hearing that the Bears still suck, you know. So I think it's, you know, but it's hard. I wouldn't mind seeing the Vikings do well because of, you know, some of the things that they haven't, but it is really hard then to, you know, think about them winning it. The Lions, it has, I'm on that same, you know, wavelength, Ryan. Like, you know, they've been the Motor City Kitties for so long, right? They've been, you know, just
word.
Right. You know, and, you know, for them to win, you know, that would, that would be a good story, you know, but it'll be interesting that maybe they're not ready. Maybe Jared Goff is a quarterback. You talk about different quarterbacks changing the narrative, and Kirk Cousins has that opportunity. I know that probably makes you sick, Ryan, to Kirk Cousins changing the narrative. And also, Jared Goff, maybe this is his opportunity to change the narrative.
Jared Goff been to the Super Bowl before. Jared Goff been to a Pro Bowl.
What happened in that Super Bowl though?
He was 24 years old, and you know what Bill Belichick does to young quarterbacks. He destroys, he eats them. You know what I'm saying? That's what he does. And they figured out what McVay was doing because he's a control freak. Actually, Fat Boy figured it out when he played against the Lions. He's the one who figured out that offense. We just didn't have enough to stop him. We played them close with nothing. Matter of fact, I think fucking Taylor Decker scored a touchdown on them. Like, we kept that game close. You know what I'm saying? And whatever he did that game, that's the formula to beat those Rams that year, and that's what they did. He's not a bad quarterback. He's a systems quarterback, definitely. Not even in finally, he just had a game management game. He just was a game manager last week. Like, he's all right. He's all right. You know what I'm saying? We missed Stafford. We missed the ball. We missed that. We missed the comebacks. I can't go through that again. I can't go through Matthew Stafford coming back and, you know what I'm saying, and overthrowing people. And I mean, now my boy, he underthrows people. So hopefully he gets that together with Jameson Williams. But it's just we're used to what we're used to, and golf is different, and everything is under a microscope. But he's playing his ass off, and he's not the problem. We've been scoring 30 points more than anybody this year. That's not an offensive problem. Now, if we add Jalen, what's his name, from Jalen Carter from Georgia, with that Rams pick, and the cornerback with the other pick, oh man, oh God, can't wait. Can't wait.
Well, this has been fun again, guys. Where can everyone find you, Ryan?
I'm over at the Packernet podcast. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm Pack_Daddy.
Oh man.
And where can everyone find you, Seventh Letter?
You can find me at 7th Letter 4 on Twitter. Las Vegas to Detroit Sports Radio on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. It's a pleasure to meet you guys. Y'all in the Midwest, please stay warm this week. It's gonna be fucking frigid out there. So
I was gonna preview this Bills Bears game, but I mean that's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be cold. It's gonna be snowy. It's gonna be nuts. And maybe the Bears win. I hope they don't, honestly, because I want them to have that bigger draft pick. They need to. They just need to. But tell you what, I mean, next week could be interesting. If the Packers are still alive, that could be interesting to keep that momentum going. If they're done, obviously we got kind of more talk, Jordan Love, but I definitely appreciate you guys coming on, and Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays. Spend time with the families and everything.
All right, man.
Yes,
Pleasure, guys. It was fun, man. You guys, again, be safe, stay warm, man. Thanks for having me again, my brother.
Once again, it's been the Freezin 4 NFC North Podcast, episode 43. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you next week.
Have a good one.